Hello and welcome to This and That. I'm Dave Lees.
And I'm Jonathan Byer. Happy Sunday, Dave.
Happy Sunday. Welcome to the skating lesson. This is This and That. We are going to be talking all things going on in figure skating this week. So if you're new here, please subscribe below and remember to smash that like button. And every week, Jonathan has a new vase, whatever you want to say. He probably says vase because he's pretentious. But
yeah, it depends on the price point.
I have a one-up on him.
Oh, tell me, Dave. What would you do if I pulled a Gabby Papadakis doll out of the vase? That's something. And you want to keep it in because you want it to be like nice, but don't you kind of want to take it out of the box so she can chat like the Dorothy?
I should have asked for a second one. One that I could use and one that I can just keep in mint condition forever and ever. I want to hug it.
Like just a nice console table with some candles around it. A picture of their famous Moulin Rouge free dance that they were second in at the Olympics. Yeah, it would be so nice.
How dare you? How dare you? Oh.
What is this? Does it have any like fun tidbits on the back?
You know what? It makes me sad. There's a stand for her, but you know, there's nothing to comb her beautiful hair with. Why?
Not included. Maybe they have a whole different like Tessa grooming kit.
Oh my God. Like, why not? I also have those Matthew Caron masks. I'll have to show those in another video. So,
okay.
And I brought them to the rink. And someone was like, wait, I know how much those masks cost. Did you pay for them? And I said, well, yeah, he's giving some of the money to like charity or COVID or something. It was for a good cause. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really just helping everyone by wearing it.
It was like a really good cause. And I'm helping the economy of skating, right? Like we're keeping the business alive.
You are stimulating skating single-handedly.
So I was like, they were like, how much did you pay? I was like, well, it was 200 Canadian, but like that's less US, I think. No, it didn't do the conversion on the website.
But aren't they like handmade one on like individual? I mean,
oh yeah, Jonathan,
the whole point.
Smells like acrylic paint when you get it. Okay, like it
that's
smells.
A bonus.
I
pay $250 for that.
It smells like the paint wasn't even done drying when he put it in the DHL.
Amazing.
thing to get
Amazing.
Like, oh my God. So I have Shoma. And I think the Shoma is the better. I have a Tessa Virtue one, but the Shoma one has gotten me more compliments, but people are like, that is beautiful, beautiful. People go like, nice mask, you know.
Which Shoma costume is it based on?
It's based on the maroon.
Oh yeah, okay.
Pause, I'm gonna get it. You know what, we're gonna pause this video.
I think we should get it. I think we should get it.
All right, are you ready, Jonathan?
Okay, Dave, go. Okay, I'm channeling PJ Kwan. On the ice, representing Japan, Shoma Uda. Oh my God, it's gorgeous. It's really nice, Dave. I had to give up the joke because I was actually oh, that's really lovely. Mm. Now, moment of honesty. When I had the Carolina Herrera one, sometimes I found the cloth ones harder to breathe in than the other ones.
I can't breathe at all. But pain is beauty, Jonathan, right?
Hashtag worth it. Hashtag worth it. You look dazzling. Or be dazzling, I guess. Very nice. Okay, go and channel a Canadian technical master here. Still loving her most from her Carmen at the 2013 Worlds. Representing Canada.
This one still smells. This one still smells like acrylic paint. Okay.
Oh, good.
That means it has more detail, right?
Okay. Or it's hot off the presses.
Representing Canada.
Tessa Virtue. Oh, okay. Okay. You got some deep V going on there.
Mm-hmm. The mask is slutty. Yes.
Yeah, it is. It's, you know. Now we're treating it like it's a Patreon episode. Amazing. But the Shoma one in particular has some really beautiful color to it.
I mean, this one has like some fake flesh to it. I think the Shoma one is more effective in person. And then people were yelling like, why didn't you get the Madison Chalk one? But like light green isn't really the color against my skin. You have to know your colors, okay?
Yeah,
yes, it's a beautiful work of art, but like it's about me. okay?
Exactly.
It's about enhancing this, okay?
It's what we say about choreographers. You got to work with what you got. You know what I mean? So the Shoma is
exactly
better.
You know what? Igor Lukinin, for his class, we have a new fitness guy, upon my recommendation. Thank you very much, everyone. And he has Christian Irwin, who's in Ice Theater of New York, right? And Igor goes the first thing, I have new guy, gay guy, teaching fitness, very attractive. And I was like,
okay.
God,
Am I
Igor.
teaching it? No, I'm just kidding.
God, Igor. Like, do you not? I'll pick you, bitch. You know, he is not like introducing everyone else in these terms. I mean, my God, you know.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, dear God. He's just, yes. Anyway.
I wonder if eventually this guy can do like a vintage collection. Like, could you imagine the Oksana 94 law, like with all the pink fluff coming out of it? Like,
so, but he didn't design those costumes. So is he allowed? Like, isn't that a touchy?
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Well, Lord knows TSL fans may find a way to say it's copyright and they have to pay Oksana Bayul or something to
Oksana Bayul for that,
look
like,
at her costume.
Ripped up Miss Piggy outfit that she was wearing.
Well, and I remember when she showed up to the Hammer Ice Hall or whatever it was called at the time, and she had the costume in the bag over her arm. It looked like she was carrying cotton candy. And then she had that big fur coat and like teal track pants on. It was a whole look.
Oh yes. Oh
yeah.
yes.
That's your world now. That's your skating team.
It really, yeah, but Jonathan, we're in such a crisis.
For many reasons, but what's yours?
Victor is going to the Ukraine. Why is it the Ukraine and not Ukraine, but we say he's going to the Ukraine? Okay.
Because it's not just any Ukraine.
It's the.
It is the Ukraine.
You have to imagine Oksana Bayul in Yekaterinburg on the ice being made into a star by Galina, right?
Exactly. Although sometimes I thought the announcers just said Odessa because it was easier to say.
Of course they did. Okay. The orphan from Odessa. Okay.
That's right.
Victor is going there to produce a Skating with the Stars type show. We don't know when he's coming back. This is like what happens to every skater who's ever taken from Nikolai Morozov. Like they just leave you.
But now, isn't it interesting though that now with 2020 and the familiarity of everyone with this sort of online teaching, we know it could never be the same, but at least it's something. Could you not still check in with him while he's there?
We could, but it's so hard on the I think Jan's boys who they skate before me, I think they're still gonna like work with him over the iPad or something. But I need a more in-person touch. Okay.
I understand, especially when you're formulating a technique, not just checking in and maintaining.
And like, I've thought about like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Because the other people teach like the Atari technique at the rink. And like, I watch. Okay, Jonathan.
You're too old, Dave. You're too old for the Atari technique. Go have babies.
Too old. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm already past the baby making age. Like, right? Like, I'm like, frankly, most Russians I think are grandparents by 34, right? Like, I don't, let's be really honest about it. Yeah, so I think like, I'm stressed, you know? I was like, Victor, we could always visit Vladimir and his brother. I'm like, he's probably the Diet Coke of Victor. In Simsbury, he goes, zero Coke. Like.
Sounds personal. Okay, Pepsi clear. What about Galina?
I'm trying to manifest it. Okay? It's easy money.
Yeah.
She can yell at me. I don't care.
Yeah. You're an eager student. You're super serious about it.
I will treat her like the queen that she is.
And isn't that what we're all looking for?
It's the summer. She doesn't even have to find a good mink. Okay?
But yes, she will.
I might even bring her fresh squeezed pomegranate juice. Okay?
And flowers.
I would definitely bring her. What kind does she like?
Yeah, just bring them all, just in case.
I heard she likes gardening. I mean, it's easy money. Okay? Her daughter's already there.
Yeah.
She's a little scary. And fabulous. Fabulous.
Yeah, they're not mutually exclusive.
I'm sure the apple doesn't fall far from that tree. Come on. I mean, remember, her daughter is the one that made the Senorita program for the skater who represents Mexico. And it was the greatest program I'd ever seen in my life. It was like Oksana Bayul in like a miniature form. Like it was
Right.
shimmying and like Latin themed, and oh my God, John.
Which isn't necessarily how I would envision your personality on the ice.
I can appreciate greatness.
Yeah, I don't see you as the shimmy showgirl.
No.
I see you as very intense on the ice.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they could really work with that.
You know, because it's like I've learned the Victor technique and like how he wants to arm, and like you can't go back.
Right. You've committed.
It's like when you buy your first pair of designer clothes. And you're like, I'm just going to buy one designer item. $200 on a sweater. $300.
Or a mask. Yeah. What, are you going to go back now and go to CVS and get the package of them? No, you can't. You're hooked.
You can't, John. Okay? Yeah. You can't go backwards. Okay?
Yeah. It's true.
And like, you know, other coaches are already, you know, busy. But I have to say, I've enjoyed teasing the Russians because they can take it, you know. Because
and they can dish it.
They really can. So I said to Yulia Lautua, I was like, well, you're a little scary. And she goes, you're a little scary. And I was like...
You're like, do you want to be scary together?
You know, I was trying to like get her to come on. And she was like, well, what do you want to talk about? And you know, she coaches Lindsay Thorngren, who won junior nationals.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can talk about how fabulous Isabeau is. And her face was like, what do you like about Isabeau? I'm like, I appreciate her. She's the greatest thing since Sasha Cohen.
You're like, what's not to like? Yeah, okay.
Not to like. I mean, the look. But I was... You can't make it up. And you know, she coaches my friend Nancy. And if you recall, Nancy is the adult skater who met me through skating. So she only found out that I was like online later. Like she met me in the other order, right?
Okay.
Nancy is the one who broke her jaw and was back on the ice skating too quickly. That's the kind of intense person who takes from Yulia Lautua. You know, adult skating has all forms of intense people, Jonathan, okay?
Yeah, you can be intense in a myriad of ways, yeah.
Incredible, okay? So...
It takes a type. It attracts a type, yeah.
And you know, her former partner, they haven't been skating together, but she does get him to like skate on the rink. And he's very quiet. But I'm like, at what point are we going to be seeing them do some over-the-head pair lifts? I mean, it's just... Right. It's such a scene. There's so much going on in that. Like,
yeah. See, that's where they kind of got it wrong with it called Spinning Out, the Netflix show.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, a scrappy Christopher Guest approach to adult skating is really where the entertainment lies. Not in this like high stakes Olympic competitive sort of story. I want to see like real people just like going nuts for adult skating.
I mean, that's entertaining too. You could just put cameras in Hackensack and it would be a Bravo show that would, I think, #1 rated hit in its time slot.
Well, the thing is like those housewives, they offer nothing, right? So the producers have to like kind of pull teeth and edit that into a story. I'm sorry, the adult skating world is so fascinating because it's who comes from what. It would be like a Waiting for God's. I don't know. I'm all about it. I'm all about this idea.
I mean, they could just film the adult session. They would have so many storylines. Okay.
And then confessionals like right as they get off. It would be gold.
It really would. I mean, the adult world it's where it's happening. Okay. Like the rivalries are intense. You don't even know. Okay. Like we could just, all right.
But we'd like to know. That's why we need the show.
It's true. It's true. You know. And like, I made sure to like, put my clean outside Lutz edge on Instagram. People saw who we wanted to see.
We saw it.
People who we wanted to see.
But then I also like that you posted the flub.
Oh, the flub was fabulous. It was...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was in all things. It was great.
Did you not see that it was against that backdrop where all of the Sarah Hughes, because Rink 1 in the Ice House has like the double windows. That's where all the Sarah Hughes fluff pieces would be. When she was with Robin and Robin was like, arms, Sarah, arms, right? Like.
She's like, okay, that's what I needed.
That's what she did. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Robin willed that to happen.
Yeah. I would have suggested knees, but arms will do. Arms will do.
It worked. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And you know what? It worked. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So Jonathan, the Junior Grand Prix was officially canceled. Now this was interesting because we've been saying this all along and we keep getting comments being like, no, it's going to happen, you know.
Why would you want it to happen? How could this feasibly have happened? Yeah.
It's not happening.
Yeah.
The Autumn Classic also postponed to later in the year, AKA canceled. Yeah, so it seems that the Grand Prix is next. I like how we're getting it piecemeal. I like how they don't just let people prepare in advance or make plans for alternatives. Let's
kind of have the guts to just make a choice.
Yeah,
make a choice and then everyone can move forward. Instead, there's still this like kind of floating thing that's happening. Yeah.
I mean, look, it's not happening.
Optimize your chances for success. Make a game plan. Just put it in motion for the season.
It's not happening. But, you know, we're watching training videos this week. I really still believe that this is such an opportunity for the skaters that prepare in the right way. What we're looking at, we saw a video in Russia of Makar Ignatov and Dmitri Aliev training, working on the big elements. And you look at them 2 years out. No, they don't have time to prepare for competition, right? Or they don't have, sorry, I misspoke. They don't have the potential to get as much experience in competition as they could. But if they get their technique so solid during this time, and you see young guys learning quads, getting quads consistent, working on choreography, that's a game changer.
In a slow, timely fashion. Again, I think that's what the big difference is here. No one's rushed.
Yeah. I know that people keep, you know, Chelsea Memel is having like a fabulous comeback, and who knows if she'll ever be in the Olympics again, but she can compete at the nationals. She could do great things just for her that are amazing. I would sponsor that, right? Like, she's incredible. It's not all about just the winning. And it's so interesting to me because they look at Riley McCusker. Now, Riley McCusker was coached by Maggie Haney. Riley has had this reputation for being a head case and not delivering in competition. But if you had an abusive coach, arguably, suspended for 8 years. So you could say if we don't want to label abusive, you know, just suspended for a coach who is suspended for 8 years. By the way, rumors on that they're still trying to coach just under another, like the gymnastics equivalent of going the ISI route.
And then my question
then copied on emails to USA Gymnastics that I was forwarded. So, all right. So if Riley, we see all these training clips of her training in Arizona with Jade Carey and her dad, and it just seems like the three of them working together, having fun, laughing, being positive, posting everything on social media. You know, Maggie's seeing every single clip and hating it, right? Riley always had this like funky dismount off the bars, and it would go like this, and like you'd be like, oh my God, are her feet gonna get up? Are her feet gonna get up over the bar? Jonathan, she learned a new dismount that's harder, like phenomenal. They showed it in the pit this week. They showed it landed on the surface, and it's like, oh my God, what if Riley has like 18 months of positivity without that like nagging, clawing? What if her whole mind like resets and she believes in herself and becomes happy and confident and has this positive views about gymnastics in the Olympics? Like, what if there is someone in the sport who is like coached without someone screaming and belittling them and beating them down? What could she achieve, Jonathan, right?
Well, I mean, this is a conversation we've had often about what kind of coaching style inspires different people. But like to be so beaten down and be proving something every time you skate instead of just, I mean, obviously you're talking about gymnastics, but like to just like love your sport. Those are the most infectious performances, right? When there looks like there's joy, not a tightness or a grip on perfectionism. Like you see that in so many performers in skating, and just, I don't know, for people to kind of be able to take the reins and control their own destiny here. I think there's something pretty remarkable about that. I think the sport could make this kind of cosmic shift, both sports, quite frankly, to come out the other side, because they want to do it. I think the people that are staying in and tolerating the flexibility and the unsuredness of the schedule and stuff, it's because they love it. And having not been able to do it like they used to, there may be a different kind of appreciation for it when they're able to go back.
It's kind of like the new Taylor Swift album. You didn't know it was going here, but Taylor's last 2 albums, she tried to follow trends. She tried to do all of this pop stuff. It's bad, Jonathan. She got back to what she could do songwriting with a moderate voice, and it's much better. The product is much better. We're not relying on gimmicks, pretending she's a good singer, any of it. We just got back to like the 3 notes that she can hit, and man, she arranged them so much better. Okay, this new album.
Well, but you know what? It was also a reflection of the time, because I listened to the whole thing and it just kind of created a mood. It was less about like an individual song. Swift? Well, it's a new album. I'll listen to the new album, and because
you listened to Cardigan, Jonathan? Were you feeling it?
Yeah. I mean, because to me, it created an ambient sort of morning. Like, I put it on in the morning when it was raining, and it just kind of, you had like this like nice vibe throughout the day.
I knew you, Cardigan. You know what? It's great. You know what she offers people that Mariah Carey does not? 99% of the people listening to Taylor's music can hit the 3 to 5 notes she includes. Okay?
You can sing along more easily. Yeah.
You could, right? Maria Callas, you could never, right? Yeah. Taylor's engaging. No one's gonna sing.
Whitney, I think, is the best pop singer in the history of the world. But like, to sing along like the way she does it, like, you can't. It's too amazing. You can't do it.
Can't do it. Okay. And
but a Britney song that's just all computer sounds, yeah, you could do it.
But you're like, how does she get that disturbed kind of flat sound to her voice? What is
a computer?
Yeah. I mean, but Taylor, you know, she got back to the essence of who she is, Jonathan.
It's true.
A hardworking girl who is probably sat around for 2 days in quarantine before she started working on a new album, because she just can't sit with herself. I bet she would work with Victor on jumps over Zoom. Like, I bet she would have done that. She would have, okay.
Pants in the pants, gotta keep going. Yeah.
Gotta keep going. Okay, love it. All right. I mean, come on. The other thing I was thinking about quarantine that's resetting, and the fact that Stefan Lambiel is in a country that doesn't really have horrific COVID at the moment, he is becoming such a hotbed of training. Rika Kihira is training with him now. Paganini went there.
Dave, that clip of the triple flip, triple loop, I mean, the speed in and out of that and the way she hurled herself into that triple, I don't know. I thought it looked better than ever. What did you think?
Jonathan, if she keeps improving, why would she have to go to Brian Orser? Because Lambiel has such a hotbed of he has Shoma, Rika, Alexia Paganini, the other boys that
Dennis,
yeah. The other boys of Japan. Why would you come on? Like, that is an immense training environment already.
Right.
And you could stay there and adapt. If you're just going to, who knows how long she's going to be there, right? But if she's there for an extended period of time and you start to adjust to this coach and you're happy and doing well, why would you move again? To have to adjust to new people.
Yeah.
And then she wanted Lori Nickel to do her program, but train with Brian Orser. Well, that's not going to happen. So, yeah.
It's interesting. Like, Stefan could really provide her with something she still needs, I think. What he did so well, especially as a professional skater, is kind of something that he could help infuse her with, I think.
I mean, look at how much he helped Showman in that short amount of time.
Yeah. And again, she came from what we are assuming, or has allegedly been, a tense environment. So if she's now able to feel freer and embrace like the joy of skating, this could be pretty immense.
Yeah, I think she needs speed, as you talk about, and knee bend. Well, who better to help that than Lambiel? Obviously, Tracy's class can help that, but if you can't get there in that amount of time, and let's say the Canadian border, thanks to the US, let's say it doesn't open up for a while, it's such an opportunity, and such an opportunity for him. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
You know, Jonathan, he's like being so nice.
He's ready to play that game. That's clear.
This
he's ready
is
to
his
make a
moment.
Move.
Jonathan, this is his moment to be like extra accommodating. Yeah. He's Massimo Scaliing this situation with like our view. Like, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I would be like brushing her hair. Okay. Like, metaphorically speaking. Okay.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
literally. Are you kidding? Like,
Yeah.
Anytime. You don't want to get up early? We can start at 10. We can start at 11. Whatever
No
session
problem.
she wants. Okay?
Yeah. And she probably does want to do the 10 o'clock session. So.
Oh my God. Are you kidding? What a ladies champion can do for you from Japan?
Right.
Brian Orser, you're never getting Rika Kihira. Not at Lambiel.
It's over. Yeah, okay.
Are you kidding? Come on. You saw those workouts with him. Like come on, Jonathan.
I'm curious if she didn't have, well, Lori could still do the program then.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
The plot thickens, doesn't it?
But of course, the other Japanese footage that we saw this week, even though it was a little bit older, I think, was the Wakaba section.
I mean, the Wakaba triple axel was so...
Even when it's not right, it's still so good. It's still so good. Like, she was doing a couple of attempts. And then there was this part of the footage where she just started playing the trumpet for the interview. That was a tough watch. That was like, she didn't want to do that. You know, the producers were like, well, why don't you play it for us? You know, I mean, that was an unfortunate moment.
Do you remember watching Skip? I was just doing something that I heard. We are New York listeners. People write this down all the time, Jonathan, in our comments. And so I'm working on producing a TV show for my company that'll be like on the local station, right?
Oh, nice.
It'll be user. And the producer who worked for Good Morning America said, we encourage you all to be New York listeners during this conversation. I'm like, what
does that mean?
New Yorkers interrupt mid-conversation and they don't get offended. They just go. And I think that like so many people are triggered by when we New York listen with one another, but I
think the style of what we do here, compared to other versions that we have tried over the years, is that it's a candid conversation about what's happening in the world of skating. Yeah. And in a conversation, there's a give and take. So, and it's gone both ways. I feel like anything I've ever wanted to say, I get out.
Well, Jonathan, it goes anyway.
Yeah.
So, it's whoever they're mad at each week too, by the way.
Oh, great. Okay. Got it.
Anyway, it's round.
Because otherwise, you know what, I'll tell you, for a while when we were getting that comment like a couple of years ago, there would be all these pregnant pauses. Because I was like, is Dave done? Okay. You know what I mean? And then like the momentum gets too funny that way.
Yeah. So I think that Lori Nichols should New York listen her way into that situation with Lambiel. In terms of, do you remember when Sarah Hughes, there was a cutting edge segment before the 99 Nationals where somehow TNT knew that the 99 Nationals were going to be all about Naomi Narinam and Sarah Hughes, and they just so happened to have a fluff piece on both of them. And I remember it was about like 12-year-olds, or were they 13, whatever it was. And it had Sarah Hughes playing the violin, and it was a fluff piece. And I had never, and it was intense. They found like the most out of tune, awful clip of Sarah playing the violin. Does anyone recall this? Does anyone remember? It was a gem. We need to hear it. We need to find out.
Well, it's back in the 80s when they made Jimmy Carter's daughter do like the piano recital, and it was like televised or something like that. It didn't go great. These are, and I get charged my own issues when, Cherry Gannon, it's like, she's also a concert pianist. And I'm like, what concert?
Amy Chow was, Jonathan. They showed her playing, okay?
Where was she playing?
She was playing constantly, okay? She was literally going from the uneven bars to playing the piano. I believe that piano had chalk on it, okay? From all...
Amazing.
All right. So don't you be attacking Amy Chow. She became a pediatrician. This is a woman of talent. Okay. She was a diver and a pole vaulter. Okay.
Yeah.
She is driven.
We throw away that word concert or professional when we're talking about athletes and their hobbies, pretty drastically. It can be tough at times.
Excuse me. Amy Chow, the mother, had a huge camcorder at the 96 trials, even though it was on TV, and she was, it was fabulous. Okay.
Yeah, for study purposes. Yeah, okay.
It was great. All right. Oh, man. So, yeah, a lot happening there. But there have been some interesting articles. So,
before we leave, before we go into the article, because you're about to get me triggered in like a major way with that one. We also saw clips of Shun Sato and all these sorts of things.
Yuma Kagiyama doing 2 quads.
Yeah, pretty amazing stuff. Then I was intrigued because the first time in a while, we've seen old standby Mai Mihara, who, you know, she kind of filled that Maria Sotskova, Paulina Edmonds sort of slot in the Japanese lineup, I would say. But it was, so she disappeared from last season, right? And no one quite knows what the health dilemmas were. She looked, it looked like, it was tough for me to watch her in that clip. She doesn't maybe look so well. And that's all assumption on my end, but yeah, I don't know. It was a tough watch. And I'll just leave it at that. I hope she does well this season. I always enjoyed her jumping style, and there was kind of like a vintage happy quality to it. So I hope she's able to find her way. So that's what I'll say about that.
There's nothing I could say that could not get myself in trouble. So we'll move on.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I am a fan of hers, even though I know she's not as engaging as some of the other Japanese skaters. So I'm hoping that she...
Is she still skating to the mission?
There was not music playing in this clip, I believe. It was just showing her working on excerpts. So we'll see what happens, but I'm hoping she is able to find her way back onto the ice in a healthy way.
Or in life in a healthy way. So
of course. More importantly, yeah.
So anyway, let's sorry, that's a minefield there. Not touching.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Svetlana Khorkina because.
Oh, versus not the minefield that is this Svetlana Khorkina article.
Also,
oh my gosh.
Well, also Natalia Bolshakova. Natalia Bolshakova. She did an interview. She's a costume designer who has worked with everyone. And she was saying that even the thinnest girls in skating all have these immense body issues. And as the costume designer, how she has to work around it. And she was saying how in the US, she's still trying to help people. But in Russia, it was some of the methods. And she called out Speedo Victor, who coached Pogorilaya. She called him out because he admits to hitting his students and like acted like there was no problem. Remember, he was giving that interview where he was praising a Terry as though he were auditioning for a job, and she called him out for abusive methods that he acted like were nothing. So I thought, good for her. She was.
Now that like I'm teaching voice more, especially during this pandemic, being on the other side of that, in what world do you think that makes the student better in any way? In any way, the student is going to be tighter, the student is going to be zoned out, they're going to disassociate, they're going to be afraid, they're going to be tight. Like, I don't understand. And then it's like a temper tantrum on behalf of the coach because they're clearly not able to get across what they're trying to get across. I don't know. I feel very strongly about that like, it's because of their own lack of ability to clearly do something that happens.
Yeah. Well, they are so nervous to try to get results that I think that a lot of that comes from like trying to force something to happen and instead of working through it.
Or allowing something to happen because I believe if they trust it would, but yeah, it's nutty.
So let's discuss a few words from gymnastics queen Svetlana Khorkina.
Yeah.
But just so you know, when she was in the 2004 Olympics, Bella Caroli, maybe not the biggest saint in gymnastics, perhaps incredibly abusive himself, he made a comment that Svetlana Khorkina had clearly been throwing her guts up for the last 4 years to keep herself in the mix. Now, I don't know if you remember, but like Svetlana was really the top gymnast in the world from 97 to 2000 overall. She had dips during that time, like around the 99 World.
Now, this was the name as a casual viewer.
Yes.
She was always a name at the top of the list for me. And really the narrative is someone who enjoyed it but was on the outside of the sport, of course, was the debacle in Australia with the wrong height on the vault. Like
really
that's my big
through
takeaway.
2001. Her appearance in 2003 and 4 was so shocking. And I don't believe it helped her. Whatever she was doing, something was off, okay? There was just something was like not right, okay? In her power and willing herself to do it. Now, she makes quotes here that she said that her coach never had to tell her she was fat. She just internalized which were like, yeah.
She just abused herself. Yeah, what she was saying.
As if she just watched everyone else.
Right.
But just, I'm like, well, clearly, we saw you, Svetlana. Like, we have eyes.
Right. Right.
That was not natural. That was not on the up and up. Okay, like that was.
Yeah.
So when she gives these quotes, that basically everyone, because since Athlete A happened, the gymnasts in all of the other English-speaking countries are now coming out, especially in Great Britain and in Australia. They are just coming. And there are American coaches that have moved to Australia, or like Ali Raisman's coach, Mihai Brestian, or Peggy Liddick. Peggy Liddick was not very liked in Australia. So like that, just like that floodgate could open at any moment. And there are certain people like Holly Dykes, I would think. Peggy used to give quotes, like this gymnast, Jackie Dunn, retired. Peggy's very blunt. She is like, no, and I don't think we're gonna hear that she hit anyone, but like, Peggy is abrasive, right? And she's driven. And you could just, if you see that Shannon Miller hand washing video, just know that she is the product of Steve Nuno and Peggy Liddick. And like, just watch her wash those hands with the stress of COVID. And like, it gives me the vibe that she's gonna pull all of the strands out of her hair when she's stressed, right? Like to just watch her gold medal hand washing video on Instagram, like just rewatch it. And be like, how do you think Peggy Liddick was as a coach? Do you think that she's maybe triggering, right? So Peggy, when this gymnast Jackie Dunn retired, I'll always remember, she goes, we've already more than replaced her. Like, she didn't even have the temerity to be like, you know, Jackie was a phenomenal gymnast. She was so helpful to our team, so instrumental. Like, she couldn't even allow herself to give, like, the quote. Because I believe
they're like emotionally stunted children, the coaches. Yeah.
I believe Jackie had fallen a few times during, like, so we've already more than replaced her. Like, thanks, Peggy.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be shocked. You know, there's a quote at the 2000 Aussie Hair Care Invitational. Alana Slater is getting ready.
That's worse than the Canadian Tire Skate Canada or whatever.
No.
Okay.
We all need hair care, whatever.
Yeah,
and the Olympics were going to be in Australia. I get it. Okay.
Okay.
It was an invented event. They made the American Cup 3 events instead of 1. And so gymnastics, everyone was injured. They had to compete in January and February for an event in March. By March, everyone was injured who qualified. So Tasha Schweikert, the alternate, just got to go in anyway. And Bella had maneuvered that. If you didn't know he was going to maneuver her to the Olympics, he somehow had Tasha compete as the alternate, the first qualifier, the alternate, the second qualifier. She doesn't even make the third qualifier, and he somehow gets her in there because of injury. He was going to put her to the Olympics. Okay, anyway. Anyway, it's not wrong.
Also clear in hindsight, yeah.
Peggy Liddick goes to Alana Slater. Again, she won the challenger and didn't compete at the final. I believe she was struggling with her front double twist, and Peggy goes, well, you're going to be choked by me if you miss it. She goes.
And again, how does that inspire anyone to focus and center and zen out on their technique and trust what they do? Instead, you're going to be like, what? Am I doing this for you? I
believe she was being sarcastic and kind of kidding. And like, Alana was one of her favorites. But like, but that just shows you what she says when the camera is on her, when she has a microphone on her.
And it still sets the precedent that the athlete's job is to please the coach.
Yes.
I mean, it's just such a disconnect there. Is that what it is? to win your gold? Are you winning it for you? Are you winning it because you accomplished this amazing thing and transcended the art form and da-da-da-da-da? No. So your coach doesn't hate you.
Again, I might enjoy Peggy Liddick because I'm an old queen who, you know, wouldn't be taking from her in that way with my Olympic dream in her hands.
Right.
I could see how for other people, she could be god-awful, right?
Especially at vulnerable ages. Ages where you don't have the perspective to be like, this lady's being nuts right now.
And that was the star of the team. That girl was the star of the team.
Yeah.
I'll just remember when the Australians vaulted in 2000, they found new ways to fail under pressure at home. They were not a vaulting team, but they looked like they were trying to off themselves on the prelims on the vault. Oh my God, John, go revisit. It's dark.
Okay.
That was not when the vault was allegedly the wrong height. That was a different day.
Okay.
Those were cursed because Vanessa Aller wasn't there. I'm telling you, it's all bad juju. Okay. Anyway, the Sydney Olympics. They were just one that. Remember, the Sydney Olympics were like the worst for gymnastics, and that was it Jacques Rogue said he called them like the greatest Olympics ever. And I remember like watching that, being like, I beg to differ. That vault was the wrong height, and that is why Svetlana Khorkina didn't win. And that is why she is still around today giving these interviews saying that all of these gymnasts are just
looking for attention. And why didn't they say anything then? And whoever is giving the interview is trying really hard to kind of help her walk it back, to be like, well, people talk about the age and that they've been groomed to think this way, so they feel powerless. She's like, that's ridiculous. They just should have left that. And I'm like, this sounds like someone who actually, at first I was getting so angry at, and I was like, this girl needs a hug. This girl is so confused. She is so,
and then they bring up
on the
Simone Biles, because you know Simone has passed all of her records. You know she hates Simone because
that's clear. She made that very clear in like the new version of gymnastics being more circus-like and acrobatic-based.
And what was interesting to me is that she said that Nellie Kim was one of the great gymnasts. Now, there's a lot of people that would debate and say Nellie wasn't that artistic. And you have to realize my friend worked for the FIG. She's a lot to say about Nellie. She said that, you know, because Nellie got 10s at the Olympics too in 76, but she was never as famous as Nadia. Nellie, who's now leading the sport, and, you know, she believes that she was more athletically talented than Nadia at some points and that she was wronged. So she is trying to guide the sport in certain directions away from the perfect 10 that Nadia got.
There's so much projection when someone does that. Yeah.
Nellie runs the sport with the damage of a woman who is in Nadia's shadow who no one cared about. Okay.
Yeah.
It was like
you just told me that. I didn't know there was someone else in 76. You would have thought Nadia was the only person in the history of the world to have ever gotten a 10.
Oh yeah. Nellie has a lot of feelings about it as she dismantles the sport piece by piece, leading the sport to this circus-like that Svetlana doesn't approve of. How about when she's like, how she claims not to know who the Downey sisters are. First of all, she knows who they are, and she's playing a Mariah Carey, who's J-Lo type situation.
Right.
But then she inadvertently body shames the British gymnasts, being like, well, what do they look like? They don't look like our gymnasts, right?
Yeah. And again, this is what she feels comfortable sharing in the public forum. Yeah. And we've talked about this with certain stories in skating, that it shouldn't have to be the Olympic gold medalist saying it. So first she's saying, who are you talking about? What did they win? And they said they won the Commonwealth Games.
Oh, they're no one.
The first one. She's like, oh, so it's nobody. So why are we even talking about it? They just want attention. And then they're like, well, what about Simone? She has an Olympic gold. And she's like, well, Simone, I mean, there's just an excuse at the ready for every single thing. And I don't know what she's so afraid of. If facing something herself, or if she's just, it's like that abuse for so many people is a secret. And then you're like, why are you ruining our unspoken pact that we're not supposed to talk about this?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, she's now in leadership position. So she's now on the other side, wants to keep the good time rolling. But it's interesting.
And that's dangerous. The fact that someone in a position of power has such crossed wires about empathy for human beings, that it's really traumatizing. And again, how we've talked about kind of this Terry motto, like there are some people blinded by results. So they're like, well, they're winning. And the kids smiled and the kiss and cry, so everything's fine. And you're oh.
So I read the Craig Maurizi case, his legal filing against the USFS, the PSA, and Richard Callaghan, because he filed this last week. And then I read his testimony to the Senate, right? Or questions and answers that he provided to them. Now, Jimmy Santee runs the PSA. Remember, the PSA is that they can also suspend coaches and things like that.
And really made some missteps. Their concern, and you correct me if I'm wrong, their concern during the January of 2000, when was this? 19? Their concern was protecting coaches from being accused. And they made that very clear.
We don't know that. That is how it appeared. We don't know that. I would say that they didn't do anything that Save Sport hadn't already done, right? But they said the PSA, what they do is they send out an email when someone is suspended. But knowing how a lot of coaches who are in trouble will buy ice as long as they have private insurance at other places, they are in a duty because people don't check the Save Sport registry when hiring someone. Like, there aren't processes and procedures in place to really protect everyone involved. You have to protect the rink from liability. You have to protect the parents from working with, right? Like, this is what happens. And I think that you can see in the Craig Maurizi filing is that Richard Callaghan would get asked to leave, or his contract would not be renewed. You know, it would be in such legal terms so that maybe he couldn't sue the rink and the rink wouldn't get, but like, maybe the cops weren't called. So like, you can see, it looks like the Catholic Church when you start to look at how many coaches have been to so many rinks and hopping between this one to that one, to that one, to that one.
And that the litigation and the funds and the effort are to protect seemingly those who are accused and not those accusing. Same thing, skating can say whatever it wants. During that situation, the skating community turned on those accusing, got behind those being accused. It was so sad to see. And when I would read on social media things from all these PSA people, they were like, how do we prevent this from happening to us? There was no like, what a terrible situation. How do we fix this?
But how many
Their version of fixing it meant be quiet.
How many of those people were abused?
And this was another thing. And this comes up, I think, in the Svetlana article a lot. And we've seen this in skating also. People don't understand. Happened to me, what's your problem? And I was like, but that's terrible that happened to you. That shouldn't have happened to you either. So no, maybe you're not taking the big interview, or you're not the highlight of a documentary, but it shouldn't have happened to you either. Not everyone should have to tolerate it because you did. I don't know, it's sad to me.
It's extremely sad. So,
yeah,
I did an interview the other day. I did an interview for a project that may not come out 6 months, it may not come out for a year, whatever. And talking to someone who had been sexually abused and how much it affected their life 20 years later. And I think there's so much impacted, like, what, they just want fame? I don't think the person wants fame. You know, they want to be able to leave their house without.
They want to heal.
Yeah. And, you know, the abuse is very triggering. And the other part that how people perceived them and how people spoke about it was, like, when people freak out and they go after the accuser instead of the accused, it's like re-victimizing them in that capacity. So, and that's why so many people don't want to speak out, because someone like Svetlana is saying that you're only doing it for fame. I don't know who you are.
And they always say, and then you're taking away from real cases, or you're taking away from something. And I was like, this is the something. You're the one taking away from it. You're like, I don't, it's just mind-blowing to me. The lack of empathy for just human beings that sometimes result-driven people become.
But, you know, she's very special. Svetlana Khorkina, like, she is.
It's the idea. I feel the slack already. They're going to start complaining I interrupted you already.
It's fine.
It's the idea that there are less coronavirus cases if you just stop testing. For instance, like, there will also be less abuse in skating and gymnastics if no one admits to it.
Yes.
So that's kind of what it sounds like she's asking for.
You just keep the party going.
Yeah. Horrible. Horrible.
It becomes the Nickelodeon of Olympic sports, if you will.
Yeah.
Dan Schneider everywhere. So
exactly. There's a few skaters I wouldn't mind seeing slimed. Wasn't that a Nickelodeon thing on like Double Dare or something?
we were talking about two different things about Nickelodeon, but yes.
Oh, I misunderstood. Okay, sorry.
Oh man. So yeah, there's just this. Yeah, I mean, it's really sad when this was such a celebrated person within the sport, and to see them, it's horrifying. It's like Alexei Yagudin. You're like, oh my gosh, like what are they saying for years and years later? So,
I would have re-examined this choice to go in.
You know, it makes me like Michelle Kwan that much more. You know, she didn't get the gold, but she is wearing a mask. She posted that she's wearing a mask for her mother and all the mothers. And I was like, you wear that mask, Michelle. You go, Michelle Kwan.
Yeah.
You are just like a little bit nerdy and
always
fabulous. Love you.
Yeah.
You know,
but you know, I also liked, on occasion when we would hear from Irina Slutskaya, for instance, like she would kind of, in some interviews, kind of be a defense to when people were going after certain people, I felt. Like I remember reading articles, and you correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe she said some really off-color comments as well. But she was saying things when people were going after maybe Yevgenia or something like that for switching. And she was like, will you leave her alone? She's just trying to figure out who to coach with. Who cares? You know, I kind of like that sort of wise perspective from someone who used to compete versus something so inflammatory like Khorkina was doing.
And apparently Tarasova is helping Evgenia Medvedeva with a masquerade waltz program that could give us all of the Russian drama that we need from Evgenia. Can you imagine? Hopefully Tarasova will design the costume. I mean, could you just...
Feathers everywhere.
Glittery crosses. Tarasova's last stand.
That's right.
Could you imagine the drama Evgenia could give us at this point in her career? Selling it left, right, et cetera. So
she could use some Tarasova. I think that there's something to be gained from that collaboration.
I mean, I could just imagine Tarasova yelling into the commentary. That's great because we're doing a Patreon video, and during Dmitri Aliev's program, you could hear Tarasova scream.
To masquerade waltz.
Yes.
Yeah. Because we have we were listening to the feed with the Australian commentator who I love so much, but they're clearly sitting next to the Russian commentators. And when he lands that second quad in the short program, like it's deafening. She might as well have been commentating into the Australian commentator's microphone.
Incredible.
Yeah.
What a gem, if you will.
Cares about her sport.
So yeah, she actually had a good quote about the Junior Grand Prix being canceled. She was like a rational person who wasn't mourning it like the rest of the coaches. You know, the Mitchell Johansson method, they've been like posting all of their Junior Grand Prix. That's really their moment. The Junior Grand Prix is their moment. Okay. Like I was like, oh, for some coaches, this is like their big time of the year, right?
Yeah.
So she was saying that like awful is when it's war and everyone dies. Like, put it in perspective. Like the Junior Grand Prix being canceled. Like, yes, it's sad, but it's...
Right.
Thank you, Touch.
This isn't the Olympics when it was canceled for World War II.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll be okay. We'll be okay.
Everybody's going to be great.
We'll be fine. So, yeah, it's been an interesting transitional period.
Oh, people, I'm curious to get your thoughts on Amber Glenn's triple axel that we saw.
Oh, I think it's promising. I don't think it was rotated yet.
Not yet.
Very close. She needs to use her left arm more because she's a little tilted. But yeah, it's promising. But she has to do it in competition, right? Like that's the big thing.
Of course. In the program. I mean, it's such a game changer. But again.
But I hope it gives her confidence to plow forward. Like she's someone with so much talent where you're like, you keep pushing and believe in yourself and train the full programs and figuring out.
And it's that if you are Amber Glenn, what do? You've got to do something to shake it up and make people look at you again. And that could potentially be the answer.
She has the talent.
Yeah.
She has to do two good programs and a good long program in particular But
Right.
this triple axel, maybe this gives her the confidence she needs to feel like she really has a shot against the Mariah and Brady's of the world. And maybe that can push her to getting that clean program done. Maybe that'll be the extra motivation she needs to get her over whatever her hump is in her mind and to be the game changer. Like it would for Tanya. Remember they said, like when Tanya did the triple axel, the rest of the program would be good. Maybe it could push Amber Glenn to getting past whatever.
To do the same. Yeah, exactly. Well, and then because juxtaposed to the clips we keep seeing of Ting, which is then the antithesis. We're not necessarily seeing the technical elements, but everything she does on the ice is so beautiful. So it will be an interesting shakedown moving forward. And also, it's intriguing because you're talking about Riley potentially in gymnastics coming out the other side of this with such great, like a better mental approach potentially for competition. And I'm curious what not doing competitions will do for people's nerves when there are competitions again. Does this much time away from competing allow you to feel good about what you're doing, that you can trust it in a competition a bit more because the training has been altered and you believe in it in a different way? Or was the excessive competing or consistent competing what kept your performance adrenaline and nerves in check? I think that will be a really interesting thing coming back. Who gets the most jittered when they first come back and who actually is just so thankful to be competing again, they thrive.
It can be a complete change. I did notice Trusova posted something this week. She looks so much taller, Jonathan. Like with the quarantine time, like we are going to see, it could really change the field by the time the competitions happen again. Like who is looking like what and who's doing well. I really think for the men, like when we see who's doing quads, I mean, we're going to see injuries. Sara Hurtado was quite injured this last week. And I know that that's it could be a potentially long recovery for her. So I think we will see injuries from coming back and things like that. So it is very sad, and it's going to be a real challenge. I have to say, it really doesn't look like 2021. I think by the day it looks less and less likely, and it's unfortunate because how are you going to turn around and then have 2022? Again, we talked about postponing 2022 to 2023. I still think that that would be the best decision, but we don't know when there could be a vaccine and who could take it. And
well, and that's for skating. You know what I mean? Like it seems to make the way the season works. Yes, it would make the most sense. Let's let the season be a wash. Everyone comes back for a full, complete season, and then we go into it. But who knows if that's how the decathlon wants to do it? You know what I mean? They may. There are so many sports to consider.
I mean, the decathlon, you have to think might be slightly easier if you can like, who knows how you're going to do it. I mean, with track and field, they are running in their own lanes, hopefully, right? And you're hoping people don't.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, but then there are so many like little things about things spreading and contact with people, you know, like you just get into.
But I just even mean with different federations and sporting organizations, how they prepare a season before the Olympics. You know, the skating one is pretty specific, pretty thorough, pretty in-depth that happens before. Something like skeleton may not be that way. So the ISU may be the only one kind of benefiting from more of a delay. I don't know.
So the other big issue, and the IOC has so much money that I think that they can absorb a lull, but not forever, right? But the big thing is there is going to be pressure to have these Olympics because so many of these governing bodies depend on the ad revenue that comes from the actual Olympics happening and those sales, which get trickled down to the individual federations. So if you are USA Gymnastics and you're already not in good stead,
trouble. Yeah.
And guess what? USA Swimming also in trouble. This one also, right? And you don't have the Olympics and your portion of that ad revenue, and that doesn't trickle down to the USOC, which then trickles down to USA Gymnastics. And you miss 2021. That's a huge amount of revenue that you lose for the next 4 years, which could take a long time to recover from, right?
Right.
And then that's like future opportunities and things like that. Same thing with US figure skating. If they cancel 2022 and they don't get that money from the USOC to keep pushing, not having the Olympics is a huge problem for them. And we've already missed one Worlds. They're about to miss a second Worlds. I mean, how much money does the ISU have? That would be really interesting to kind of think about and know. I mean, they really need to, they can't have that much money because they clearly don't have a great communications department. When they had a newsletter that said, hot off the ice, and the first article within the headline was, Ekaterina Alexandrovskaya dies. Look,
that's not hot off the press. That's outrageously an inappropriate and insensitive way to frame a very serious story.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that'd be like juicy nuggets, and then it's like sex abuse, blah blah blah. You know, I mean, it's you can't do that. It's terrible. So, and it's interesting because we've talked about, like, obviously this top 1% of competitors, like Kostyanaya, the Trusova, Sherikova, all these things, what that might mean for them, a postponing of the Olympics. That suddenly Valieva comes out and she's the princess, or someone else. But also, I think back to our previous Olympics, we might not, Adam Rappan might not have his life if his Olympics had been postponed. Do you know what I mean? A lot of even the non-medal threats are really using these Olympics to propel themselves forward into a professional life outside of the sport. And that's tough. That is tough if you take away that.
He may never have gotten that cardigan from Taylor Swift, that ugly sweater that she is sending to other social media influencers to post on their Instagram.
Okay.
All of them white, who I've seen so far, but that doesn't mean that I haven't seen others. I'm just saying it's an uncomfortable.
Okay. But he would not have made that list if there was no Olympics.
Yes.
Yeah. So same with Gracie, couldn't have had her staged, you know, visit or whatever that was. Like they rely on this exposure, not just the federations, but the individuals. So
I know.
Tough.
There were so many Swifties who went on to follow Gracie Gold and get her all those followers. So
which is great for the sport.
We could ask Ashley Wagner about how she feels about all of that. Why wasn't she in the staged photo?
Amazing.
Right.
Because she was just lucky to be on the team that year.
Oh, such a week in sports. But yeah, I don't know. I'm sure we'll hear a lot more about the competitions in the coming week and what the ISU is going to do, because they need some sort of a plan for the World Championships, especially.
Yeah, of course.
We keep hearing that the USFS might have virtual competitions for qualifying, but then they're playing an in-person nationals. But I think when you think about the winter and what the winter could bring, which we don't, obviously no one knows for sure, an in-person nationals to me seems less and less likely, but who knows?
Yeah. You know who I thought of also? Those American flag people. Like, I feel like the reason they're able to always get those upfront seats for things like Skate America and nationals and, you know, for continents, whatever they're going to, is because so many of those kinds of choice seats are purchased so far in advance. So I would imagine there's still like a whole bunch of pre-sales for the nationals tickets and Skate America tickets that's also just going to be a mess.
Yeah. I mean, I'm certainly not buying Skate America tickets. That's
no, but isn't technically Vegas open? Like, can't you go gambling in Vegas right now? I'm not saying that you should or I would, but isn't it technically?
Have you seen the clientele who are at the slot machines? They might have COVID, Jonathan, okay?
You know, before the you know, that is so not my like, I got there and I was like, I'm trying hard here, but like, I can't with any of it.
Vegas to me looks like if COVID is going to be spread anywhere, like
if COVID was a city, it would be Las Vegas. Like, blah. Yeah. So for all you know, the New Orleans or Orleans, whatever it was called, they're probably like, what's the problem? We can still have it. We're able to still host it.
Sure. It's very healthy. Okay.
I just won't be there.
Also, it seems that Morgan Cipres didn't get any sanctions within France, and neither did Gilles Bayer. Now, there was some loophole where Gilles let his membership lapse so that they couldn't actually suspend him. You can't suspend someone who's not a member, technically, but but there was nothing that happened to Morgan because the only evidence was Christine Brennan's articles that were presented. And that also goes into that there need to be more journalists covering this, and with the current state of the media, there really aren't. I know someone from Sports Illustrated who's looking into abuse, and Sports Illustrated had to lay off their journalists. So and they were still working on the Coughlin story. So you think about what has happened and the lasting effects are. It's sad, especially when it's only Christine writing about it and
I thought there was going to be a legal battle that could ensue also because was the girl at the time of legal consenting age in France? I know that they weren't in France, but
I believe the age, no.
So,
no.
Oh, I thought that was the
But also the truth has to come out. And the way the articles have been written, in my opinion, it is like saying that Michelle Kwan got 159 at the 98 Nationals. If your source was Tara Lipinski, instead of 159 and 860s.
Right.
Like, did Michelle get 159? Yes. But what about the bigger story?
Right. Understood. I mean, there's that old fable, right, where it's
you read those articles, the pizza, the everything.
It was very confusing, and this is the sport I know, and I was like, I'm not quite following what's happening here. So, and almost no news coverage or any acknowledgement that that meeting or hearing, whatever their terminology was happening in France.
Yeah.
Led by Natalie, I would assume, right? She obviously had a part of it somehow, I would think.
Natalie and the sports ministry, and this time, I mean, what a cluster of things.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So as of now, Morgan could compete in the Olympics going forward. So that's very interesting. So
that federation's choice. Yeah. That's how they decided to do that.
I would look into who knew about it and who knew what, and how did a guy know to ask for a pizza? Did everyone in the rink know? Like what?
Yeah, I was like, is this pizza thing a red herring? I don't know. It was just
total red herring, in my opinion.
Yeah. To quote from my favorite movie, Clue.
In my opinion.
Yeah. No, they keep talking about a red herring at the end.
So that. More to come
and maybe
later.
this time is to heal the sport. Do you know what I mean? This is an ugly time. There's a lot being unearthed. So maybe it's, in hindsight, the lack of competition will allow this to cycle through in a more thorough way across the boards, literally, and then kind of heal itself, one would hope.
I would hope. So, yes, more to come. I'm sure we'll be hearing much more in the weeks to come. So,
and more clips of programs and jumps. Like, that's been exciting to start to see that continually grow. What's coming.
When are we going to get the Atari footage? They're at the same rink where Makar Ignatov. We're going to see them when they look like really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
And I look forward to it.
There's a hierarchy of coaches I think we will see out of Russia. So maybe this week we'll see someone a little bit.
And maybe it looks too desperate to release it too soon. Maybe they don't have anything to prove yet. You know what I mean? Maybe there's an art to that. Someone like Tom desperately trying to throw out the videos early as possible, and then someone like them just sitting on those videos waiting.
How about that video where he and Corey A were best friends teaching people how to coach? Was that... First of all, blind leading the blind. Second of all, what? That is the epitome of skating phoniness, when those two were just loving each other.
Well, but also, like, who's attending that? Like, who was like, yeah, I want to follow that advice. You know what I'm saying? Like, if of all the brilliance that's around us in the United States alone, from varying countries, I mean, available to us to watch, like, between Roth, you could call Tarasova, you could call Victor Petrenko.
Jonathan, I'll give you the money. Can you attend it? I'll give you the money. Attend it.
And sit in the front row with like a #1 foam finger. Be like, please. Love your work.
Please.
Yeah.
Tom Z will teach you how to make the spreadsheet. You could do like your singers. You could do periodization for scales, okay?
Yeah, I could suck the joy and art out of singing and then just make it about numbers and crossing T's and dotting I's, yeah. It happens in music too, people that approach things that way. But it's usually, there's usually a pattern to the type of people that approach it that way. And I'm used to maybe more the Tarasova way, or even the Frank Carroll way, kind of.
Holding it should look sexy, everyone. Bye.